Here in Baltimore, we've had a bit of a conundrum because uh, over the Martin Luther King parade, right? We've had a lot of killings lately, and a lot of just different really harmful things that are happening, whether it's, shootings of high school students at Popeyes, or, just the day-to-day struggles of life. And so for our mayor, he was really adamant that we need to have this march. So adamant that he was willing to push for the termination of one of the employees who was responsible for making sure that it happened. And they didn't. They were just going to do a service day instead of a march. And I think the pomp and circumstance, the actual theater, I don't think we think about a lot. The theater of movement and what that does for building movement. So yes, you can have lots of service days, but does that create the theater of movement that pulls people in for longer term? And so for Dr. King, he was very good at building the theater of movement. And, not just Dr. King, but the movement itself, and him as a main character in this theater. He was able to bring out these large audiences, but what do you do after the fact? Every year we have a service day, every year we might have a march, but what do we do after the march? And that's where organizing comes in. So important. And I think we oftentimes do not talk about, one, the power of movement, but two, how movement changes when there are different power structures, when the organizational structure changes. So even when we think about the expansion of it, people think that, like you mentioned how Dr. King is like American Jesus, where we create these hero theories about one person being able to move all these people, forgetting that there's these whole organizational structures that are so important and so key. And, as we're talking about knowing leaders, it's also important to think about the larger base of people that they're moving and how that queen bee, for a lack of a word, moves the whole hive. And if the whole hive isn't strong enough to create change, that one speaker will just be one speaker. And what we've seen since the passing or since the assassination of Dr. King is that these movements tend to amplify this one leader model that totally disregards that you have to have a strong infrastructure. And that infrastructure is just not sexy to the type of kind of outward leadership that we're showcasing, which is based off of being able to lead the show, being able to have colorful words, being able to rhyme things out. But do you have the strength and capacity to build your base? And when they assassinate that queen bee, the whole purpose of it is to make people fearful of being one, make people fearful of joining collectives, of supporting ideas, because it is seen as either fraught with disorganization and corruption. So much like the church, people get fearful. So that's what I'm really interested to see is, like, when we talk about building out the justice that we need, what does that look like in building out structures of organizations so that you can make space for that, so that
Yeah.
a collective can